Right, YouTube, this video is the one thing probably in your life that you never realized that you never needed to know. And that's all about spring rate, motion ratios. Now, I know there are some people out there who will be interested, people like me, and someone I was talking to, Richard. I was actually doing some measurements so I could send to him because he was doing some calculations on suspension and we were talking about things together. But anyway, I've just done it on the car. I've taken some motion ratio measurements, filmed them on my phone, purely because I was just sending them through. Didn't plan on making a YouTube video, but here we are. Anyway, motion ratio. Why do you need to know what your motion ratio is? Well, if you're into track days and suspension setup, then a spring rate from car to car makes a big difference. You could have an 8 kilo spring on one car, an 8 kilo spring in another car, and the way the car behaves is completely different. It's all to do with motion ratio. So it's basically leverage on the spring, where the wheel is in relation to where the spring is. So you think of a socket wrench, have a short bar on it, it's hard to turn, and then extend it to a long bar, nice and easy to turn. So imagine that spring is somewhere, how you put in different places along that bar, where the wheel is at the end, different forces are acting on the spring. So you could have someone with a motion ratio of 1 on an 8 kilo spring, it's going to be really tough. Someone with a motion ratio of 0.5, same 8 kilo spring, nice and easy to bend. So anyway, filmed this all on my phone. As I said, I'm going to throw this in and just enjoy it. By the end of it, you'll know what the motion ratios are on a Fiesta ST. Right, so this is how I'm going to do the motion ratio on the front, right? Jacked up, as you can see. Taking the wheel off, I've measured the extended length of the front spring. Under here, I've got a bottle jack on the wishbone. So for the wheel back on, ruler here, put a mark on the masking tape where I'm going to go. I know that's 135mm once I get it in position tidy. It's harder with one hand. But anyway, jack under the wheel, I'm going to go up 10mm. Then I'm going to, sorry, not a jack under the wheel, the wishbone bottle jack. I'm going to jack that up until that's at 10mm. The wheel is raised. Take the wheel off and then measure how much the spring has moved. Right, so I've jacked that up on the bottle jack. If you look at that, we've now gone up 10mm from 135 to 125. I may have to go up half a mil actually, but I'll sort that out now, but you get the idea. Then wheel off, because the bottle jack's on the wishbone, so nothing's going to change, and then I'll see how much the spring is compressed from its original length. Alright, final results are in, right? Spring length when we started was 214mm, then it went to 205mm, so I make that a 9mm difference. If we've moved 9mm at the spring to 10mm at the wheel, that's a motion ratio of 0.9, I'm pretty sure. Now that's with an ET38 wheel, 5mm spacer, so roughly ET33, so that's what I've got. With that 16.5 5mm spacer, I got a 0.9 ratio, motion ratio. Well, measuring the back has proved a little bit trickier, right? Originally what I done my measurements is I went from up there to the edge here with the measuring tape. I did get 0.8 motion ratio doing that, and then I started to think, well, I'm a little bit away from the edge of the spring there, so I got my calipers out and I've gone up the hole in the middle, and I have still come to a motion ratio of 0.8, so I'm pretty happy to say that's a 0.8. I've just got to now take some measurements at the shock absorber to get the motion ratio if you run a true coilover. Right, so working out the motion ratio on the rear coilover shouldn't be too difficult. How I'm going to do it is, see that bump stop goes up and down, I'm going to put that right down to there in the rest position. I've got the cable tie, I'll pull that down onto it so it tightens it up. Once we lift the wheel 10mm, then obviously we'll compress and go up, and then it should stay in this position. We're going to try that. See, there is a little bit of movement in it, so we'll try it with and without the cable tie in case there is any sort of compression in the bump stop. But, I think it'll work. I think if that was to go up, you see there's a little bit of a recoil in it though, so I think if we try it without the cable tie, and just let it go up, and then we can measure this distance there. So yeah, I don't think I'll use the cable tie actually. So I just jacked that up 10 mil using the same principle, my ruler to the line I've got set on there. So now it's a case of drop it back down, wheel off, and measure the distance to the bump stop. Right, so I have to be very careful here. I've got the calipers. I'm going to just get them in, carefully measure that gap without moving the bump stop. Let's have a look. There we are, we're just touching it now. So that's very close to 10 mil. That will be a 1-to-1. Right, so there we have it then. As for the motion ratios, as on the front, we've got a 0.9 with my wheel offset setup. I was told I was around about 0.9 to 1. I was told the rear in the standard spring location was a 0.9, and in the coilover location it was 1.1. So the only thing that was accurate about what I was told is the difference is 0.2. But as you saw, the coilover location is a true 1, and the standard spring location is a 0.8. So you can take them spring measurements, motion ratio measurements to your spring, and you can work out things like your suspension frequency, which is something I've been looking into. There's a calculator I'll try and link down below. You can go on that, you can put your, if you know your corner weight of the car, you then can put in your spring frequency. You can play with a slider to what you want, and then look at what spring it is. So really you would look at that and you think, right, I've got an 8 kilo spring on the front of my Fiesta ST. Me and Rich are estimating a standard Fiesta ST, the unsprung, or the sprung weight rather, would be about 340 kilos a corner, roughly, right? So you can put that 340 in. You can then put your your motion ratio to a 0.9, and then play with this frequency until it gets to the spring you've got, and you can see what spring frequency are. Quite nerdy stuff, but there's someone in the world who's going to find this interesting other than me and Richard. So there you are, just thought I'd throw it together in a video. But you know what, thanks for watching, see you on the next one, and bye.